So, I struggle to try to tell him what it is that I do. I'm hoping that, through over 20 years of working in the field that I'm doing something right. But I think that one of the things that I have found is some of the principles that I found in project management that have been core to the principles that I've used have really helped me become a good project manager and lead project managers as we go forward. So a little bit about, project management. I know that some of you have been in the business for a long time. Some are just getting started, but here we are, we're in 2021. And if you take a look here, project management has been around for over 100 years. And it really started back in the 1900s, starting off with Gantt charts. And then we moved into the 1950s using the PERT and CPM. In the 1960s is where we had the evolution of the waterfall, and in the early 2000s, really towards the end of the 1990s and the early 2000s is where Agile came on the scene. And if you take a look at the types of projects that these different methodologies were used for, you'll see here. But more importantly, it's to recognize the evolution of project management and that it is continuously evolving. So while we started back in the 1910s with Gantt charts, it doesn't mean that Gantt charts have gone away, but we've evolved. And we've evolved from, using Gantt charts within some of our waterfall projects and some within some of the tools that we use. And as we looked at some of the tools that Shai was showing us, you're still seeing some of the Gantt charts showing up. So why am I telling you a little bit about the history of project management? Well, it's really to talk about if you're going to want to know where you're going to go in the future of project management, you really need to know where you're starting. So as we look at PM methodologies, a lot of times people will ask, what's the best one? And I don't think there is a best one. I think there is a best one for the best project, for the best company, and the one that fits for your company, that fits for your project, that fits for your team. And it really depends on what you're working with. There's not a single size that fits for all. There's no perfect solution because it's always a continuous improvement. We see out here right now, these are the 4 top leading methodologies that I hear most of is the waterfall, agile, the lean, the safe. Safe actually is a accumulation of many of the different methodologies that they brought together. But it really is around taking a look at everything that you have at your disposal and bringing it all together. And, how can you do that? And one of the things that I've looked at in all of the years of project management is some real foundational principles. And as we move from waterfall into more of the agile type practices, there are some foundational principles that I've seen have not been as prevalent. And I look at the future of project management, I believe these foundational principles really need to be brought back in the forefront in what we're doing. So let's look at what these are. The first is risk management. I know that a lot of folks get pretty bogged down in the details of their projects, and they get pretty busy with everything they're doing, but a lot of times they forget some of the foundational principles of risk management. Understanding that when you're in the midst of an awful lot of noise around what's going on and challenges and problems that are happening, a lot of times if you take a step back and you just apply the fundamental risk management principles, you can usually find your way through a solution and come out the other side with a really good plan. And most of your sponsors and your stakeholders will take a look at that and say, oh, this person really has a handle on how we're going to move forward. This is good. Risk management is around, is really around identifying how you're going to manage things that come up. It's not about solving for everything. It's not about avoiding the risk. It's about knowing how you're going to manage it if it occurs. And project management isn't about managing a perfect project without any risks. I'd be hard pressed to find anybody that says that they managed any project that didn't have any issue or any risk that occurred during the entire life cycle of their project. But the question that I would have for them is, but did you see that happening? Did you see that that was going to be a problem, and did you make a plan for that ahead of time? And so that's something that I think people need to take a closer look at in identifying those risks early on, analyzing the impact that it would have, make a plan and mitigate for that risk, and then monitor. A lot of folks will put those risk statements out there, indicate we're going to have a risk due to this, here's how we're going to manage it, but then they just leave it alone and they don't monitor it. So you need to go back and you need to monitor and identify, is it still a risk? Have we taken care of all of the issues around this, or has it become a greater risk, or has it now turned into an issue? And then making sure that you're updating on a regular basis. The next item is around change management. Now, I am not saying that project managers need to be change managers. We have a whole new industry around change managers, which I think is fantastic. But what I do think is that project managers need to understand about change management. They need to understand that their projects, when they execute, impact in the industry that I'm in right now, in the banking industry that I was a part of, it impacts our operation centers. It impacts them from the sense of when we go live with these particular projects, our folks on the front ends, our call centers, our folks in the banks, they are going to be impacted by these projects going live, and we need to prepare them for those changes. The other challenge that we have is everybody's got these projects going live. Have we thought about the change saturation and the number of projects that we have going live at the same time? And so thinking about the change management as a project manager, you need to be preparing for what is changing. Who's being impacted? Do you have your sponsorship? Does your sponsor truly support the change that you're trying to roll out? And then plan for that change. Start that planning early so that you can be on the radar for the member service reps on the front end, on the front lines where they're taking the calls. Are they properly trained? Are they aware of the changes coming? And you can work with other projects that are going live to make sure that you can stagger the releases and so that they're not having everything hitting them all at once. And then communicating. I've got communicating here under planning and executing twice, because I don't think that communication can be stressed enough. Oftentimes we hear in change management, the communication needs to be provided at least 8 times. It doesn't mean you tell somebody 8 times that this is happening. It means in 8 different ways, sometimes they need to hear about it, whether it's through an email, through a posting, through a town hall, through a team meeting, through various ways. Folks need to hear about different changes that are coming for them to absorb that change. And then just having engagement across the organization and education. And then, of course, you're under the sustain, making sure that as you implement it, you're then evaluating and you're monitoring that adoption. The other piece that's pretty important is, and I know that Shai mentioned this a little bit around the KPIs with, PMI. One of the identified gaps that we have is there isn't as much of a alignment to the KPIs as everybody thinks that there should be. And this is a big gap. A lot of times people are moving along with their projects, but they're not really sure where this fits in with the full alignment from the strategic perspective, whether it's your organization, whether it's your department. What are those strategic goals that your department has? And does this project provide benefits to achieve that strategic alignment? Does the scope align to that strategy? And does the plan meet the needs that you're trying to achieve? And then what value does this project provide? Are we going to really have the benefits that we're looking for? Are we spending millions of dollars on this project to net a $50,000 savings? You know, oftentimes folks come up with some great ideas, but they're not really looking at the full benefit that you're going to recoup. Now, sometimes it's a savings, a cost savings. Sometimes it's a reputational savings that you're looking at. And so you have to look at truly what is it you're trying to align to. And so that strategic alignment, I believe, is something that we are lacking. The other piece is diversity. So diversity is something that I look at as I build my teams. I try to make sure that I have a very diverse team, in that I have people of all different strengths and perspectives, so that when I put together a team and I need somebody that is strong in one skill set, I can tap on that skill set to help lead the team in that vision as we go forward. But we also look for the diversity across the team to help us embrace those new ideas, as well as understanding the cultural differences between different organizations, between different companies. You know, you're going to have a different corporate culture between an Amazon and a Bank of America. You need to understand the different cultures as you're going, especially if you're in a customer-facing organization. You need to understand how those different cultures are going to be accepted. By having these diverse teams, I think that you can accomplish more, because you do open yourself up to those new ideas. You allow yourself to step out of your comfort zone and take on those new challenges. By doing that, you start to embrace those challenges and turn those into opportunities. And you allow your team to be more empowered, and they start to feel more valued. And so in closing, you know, what I believe is the future of project management is really getting back to the basics. I've included here our triple constraint. You know, this really takes us back to the core of PMI with your triple constraint of your scope, quality, and time. But I've added my own core principles in here with your risk management, diversity, strategic alignment, and change management in our triangle. Because I do believe that our future of project management is embedded in the past. I think that we need to utilize all of our best practices. More importantly, we do need to keep it simple. We need to rediscover those foundational concepts, and at all times, you need to align to your company needs. Thank you very much.